Maybe cows are sacred in some places, 'cause magic mushrooms grow in cow shit, I said to a stranger in the sauna, a second after he walked in, yeah. His golden eyes squinted. He nodded his head and said, maybe somewhere out there's a planet that's one big mycelium web, yeah. My random comments had never been met with no hesitation like that. I said, my man, I am glad to inform you we're living on it, yeah. He said, whoa. You know, back when I was a nudist, I fried my brain on psychedelics. And I asked, is that why you like the sauna? He said, 'cause steam is like spores or something. I said, no, 'cause you're nude in it. He said, whoa, I never thought about it, yeah. His head twitched like a bumble. Do you play any instruments? I said, you must have noticed my Fleetwood Mac shirt with the penguins. He said, no, dude, you have a turtle tattooed on your leg. At that moment, I fell in love with Connor. I never knew what he was gonna say. The mountain from the plain has a clearer view. I said, my tattoo doesn't mean anything. He says, sir, that can't be. And now I know what he means, yeah. He said, man, do you want to start a band? The Sons of Mumford, maybe the Beatles too. I said, hell yeah, brother, wanna get sued? He said, the lawyers can join the band too. Hey man, if you're not busy, let's go ham some Suzangabergs. It's that place with the burger statue, yeah. He drove me down the road to a concrete cylinder painted like a burger. The sign above the shack said, Susan's Hamburgers. It had a dirt drive-through. One person was working. I asked, are you Susan? She looked confused. She closed the window before we could order food. I looked at him, even more confused. He did a slow head bob to approve. She came back with an order for two. He gave her a fistful of dollar coins, winked and she made a little noise. I said, what the hell was that, dude? He said, Suzangabergs, dude. He and my friends were introduced. We hit the sauna, climbed rocks, played our favorite tunes. One day at my place, Connor asked, where do you look for mushrooms? And I said, I usually just go off the balcony. He stood at the edge like he was gonna be. We laughed like, good one, dude. Then he pissed in plain view of people at the pool. The mountain from the plain has a clearer view. We went to Austin, ate some mushrooms, kayaked the river, calm and blue. We climbed rocks, hiked hills, saw a goat with horns growing back into his skull. We saw a car, had its windows broken, as Joe Rogan drove by in a Porsche 911. Then we took off for Abbott, Texas, home of Willie Nelson. That day I got rejected from college. I applied to one, it was the only one I wanted. Connor said, my dude, that's preposterous. You're like the embodiment of knowledge. Now give me 90K, take this certificate. Don't worry, I'll put it all towards our tiny house village. We took turns doing the Smirnoff Ice thing. I found one under the carpeting. I found 2 in my shoes. I found 10 empty under the bed. I put a few in a box of kolaches. We couldn't breathe as he went down on one knee and chugged them all right in front of the signs. There were so many signs. The mountain from the plain has a clearer view. My friend Jordan said, Jake, we need to talk. I think Connor's an alcoholic. It's fine if he comes to the gym drunk, but not at work when I pick him up. We met at Shake Shack to have a live talk. Till 4 in the morning, I let him know he was loved. We talked about machine elves, aliens and stars. I wrote the Great Beyond Awakes on guitar. Sent him a copy, said if I die, let him know who it was inspired by. I told him, listen man, I'm moving. Like 6 other friends he said he'd visit. One did, but me and Jordan still rock that shit, yeah. I called Connor once a week on Wednesday to say, it is Wednesday, my dude. He would say, ah! And that was our bit. I would say to people, hey, watch this. If it were a Wednesday and we would do the bit. Sometimes we would talk for a while, but most of the time I just called to make people smile. And Jordan called and said, Connor broke his phone and locked himself in the dryer again, yeah. The British intelligence is after him. At least that's what he's saying. I said he's never been to England and he works in marketing. I can't remember what happened then, if I even talked to him. But a week later Connor called me and said, man, I did it. I quit my job and I'm starting that business. I'm driving now to Dallas this minute. I said, holy go, that's great, man. Where you headed? He said, oh, I hadn't thought about it. Hey, we should meet in Key West for Christmas. I said, let me know, man, we'll go fishing. The call dropped, and since then, no one's gotten in touch with him. We figured he ended up back with the nudist. A year later, Jordan sent me a meme of a chimpanzee falling out of a tree and said, this reminds me of Connor a bit. I said, LOL rip. He texted me, how long have you known? I texted back, what do I know? Then Siri said, through my headphones, new message from Jordan. Connor's dead, bro. Jordan sent me a janky video of an AI lady reading the news. She gestured in the wrong places, made the wrong faces, spoke words in the wrong tone. It would have been creepy enough on its own if she weren't saying my friend was dead too. We found a picture of a cliff in California, his car topped down at the bottom of a lagoon. The sun was shining, the sky was blue, the water was calm, wildflowers were in bloom. We don't know if he did it on purpose. He didn't have a seatbelt on. We don't know if he did it on purpose. His dog wasn't with him, he always had his dog. We don't know if he did it on purpose. They're investigating drugs and alcohol. There's only one place that road goes when you drive drunk, but if he was, we don't know. I wanted to see the full article, so I subscribed for $4.99. I said to Jordan when it hit midnight, "It is Wednesday, my dude." Jordan did the thing. I said, "Do you think he did that while he was falling?" We laughed so hard we couldn't breathe. Jordan said he would have thought that was funny. I opened the digital tribute book. No one had written anything. His eulogy said he loved fishing, hiking, climbing, making music, the art of conversation, technology and the art of conversation, time spent with family and friends, time spent with family. What he said could have been about us too. The family wrote online, save your flower money, donate instead to this music charity that gives instruments to disadvantaged kids. Neither of us did. We already miss the funerals. We ought to go have one of our own. Look at the view, find his tree, set up hammocks and swing. We sent a message to his mom and dad, but we never heard back. We found his profile called Barack Obama, with a picture like a sound on a chess website. He played all the time. Looked like he hadn't won in a while. We looked on his Facebook to see what been going down. Comment said, "Congratulations," for some reason. We laughed at the absurdity of it all. I saw mushrooms on the ground and a heart-shaped cloud. We got off the phone at 4 in the morning. Jordan said, "I love you, brother, shine those shadows now." I went down to the pit of despair and rode where the road runs out. The mountain from the plain has a clearer view. Jordan visited me in New York City. We did the things that used to make us happy. We tried to say what Connor would say, but we couldn't quite get it. We had a concert in honor of him. No one took a pamphlet, so no one noticed. And my singing partner ghosted, but me and Jordan still rock that shit, yeah. People clap along, shadow shine. The facts so many relate so sad. We had a few, through a few darts, hit everything but the bullseye. We poured one out for him, half as a joke. Then we got all choked, and we let him go. I called old friends, the ones who didn't visit, when a thought hit. It's the world's biggest shame. We're gonna catch up 'cause of this. That change when no one replied to my messages. Someday we'll swing in his memorial tree. Someday we'll donate to the music charity. Someday we'll write a tribute. Someday we'll go to where it happened, look at the view. Someday soon we'll be better men. was reading the song. Women were laughing on the other side of the wall. I couldn't understand them at all. I couldn't understand them. Till one said, do you think they can hear us? I knocked twice on the wall. They howled like hyenas. They howled like hyenas. I laughed alone. I laughed alone, and then I saw the spot where I met Connor. My turtle tattoo and the steam in the hall. If he were here, we would have said forever. Remember when we knocked on the wall? Later that day, I was writing this song on a park bench when a man with a thick accent asked if he could sit down. I said of course, and together we made a full smile. He seemed eager to talk, but my head was down. He got up, wandered around, looking at folks, hoping to chat for a while. I felt my insides eating alive. A chewing up my spine. I looked behind me and realized I was where I last saw him. Birds were in the fountain. The sun was warm. The air was cool. Flowers were in bloom. People were having picnics, laughing together on the lawn. I heard a beautiful trumpet playing somewhere far. I stopped to listen. Such a familiar tune. I tried to recognize it. What the wind was singing.